This is AndyTube. In this video I'm going to show you how to remove, replace, and do minor adjustments on the vibrating bracket. It's this bracket right here. Singer called it the vibrating bracket because it's connected to a needle bar driving arm that comes from the fashion disc area and cam stack and pushes or drives the bracket, which has a top bushing for the needle bar here, and it will push it and the spring on it pulls it back. So we will call like the zigzag bracket. This is what makes the needle move left to right to create the zigzag patterns when you sew. Now you would want to remove this if you just wanted to clean it. You know, you inherit or find or buy an old vintage machine like this, you can have years of accumulated crud and dried oil and dust and dirt and everything you can think of, maybe smoke. But you also would need to remove this vibrating bracket if you had to or wanted to remove the needle bar driving arm up on the top. Matter of fact, why don't I tilt this? Maybe I can tilt this and let's see if I can show you the vibrating arm from the top. So a little paddle back here sits in a ball joint. When the fashion disc turns around, these little follower arms follow the pattern and push on the paddle and make the driving arm go forward. And there's a spring here attached that is what makes it spring back or pull back when it's not being driven. And it's a cast piece of aluminum, and it comes up here into the nose and is attached to the vibrating bracket. So if you wanted to replace that, repair that, clean that, you'd have to remove it, at least part of this bracket to get it out. The other thing is, if you want to work on or clean the needle thread take up lever assembly, it's very hard to get in here and work on that without removing this stuff. So there's some of the reasons why you may want to do it. I take it off mostly to just clean and degrease it, like I do the whole machine. But if you choose to do this, you start up here with this pressure bar pressure adjusting thumb screw, and you remove it. Now if you've watched my video about the pressure bar system, you already have seen this. But the other thing is, down in here there's like an extension pin that comes down in here, and we want to remove it, and it's got to come out of the top here. So we got to try and flip it up, or you can turn the machine upside down and pop it out. It's kind of hard to get out of here. Let's see if I can, because my third hand's not available today. See something else here. Maybe if I set my magnet up there on the top and can flip it up just high enough that the magnet could catch it, maybe. because there's no room in there like to get a tweezer. If you have a skinnier magnet than me, it would probably work. Let's try this. You can see the pin coming down here, right? Oh, I think it went up and stuck to that. Let's see. Oh, easy, easy, easy. Hey, I didn't know if that'd work or not. Okay, extra points for me. So there's the extension pin. Right, so we got that out. Now, later we're going to be removing that eccentric hinge pin. And this is factory set so that the eccentric portion is just perfect for your vibrating motion. So if you take it out and you put it back in a different position, you'll regret it. You're not going to be operating properly, most likely. So while you're up here doing this work is a good time to mark it. And Singer said, see if I can get this up here again. Singer says to mark the pin against the casing. So kind of put like a scratch mark, or you can use a Sharpie if you want. I don't do that because during my cleaning that marking can come off. I had that happen the first time. So since then, I just go in this little slot that's like it's for a big screwdriver, and you might be able to see a scratch right here in the aluminum. So what I do is take some kind of a file, even like a metal fingernail file or something. In this case, I took a little triangular file I have, and I stuck it right on the edge of that slot up against one side of it, and I filed a little groove that I could be sure and see and feel. And then I filed a little groove, a little shiny spot right on the aluminum. Okay, so you mark it or scratch it, or if you have a, an engraver or an etcher or something. Before, I've just taken a screwdriver and tapped it with the rubber hammer and tried to put a scratch. This eccentric pin is very hard steel. And then this is aluminum. So once you get that marked, we're going to move on here. The spring I kind of mentioned at the other end, it comes up to this end and it hooks around the bottom of this pin right here. So right in here is the end of a spring, and it comes from the outside and has like a fish hook about a 1/2 inch long that goes and hooks over that pin. And in the pin there's a little groove I'll show you in a minute. So we want to remove that pin spring from the pin. So I usually put the machine in the widest width lever, which drives the arm towards me usually and gives me the best look at that pin. Then I have a little hook here. I'm going to go in and hook that spring and pull it off. So I don't want to pull it out too far, but I want you to see that if possible. Well, I guess I can pull it out more. See that little fish hook on the end. Okay? So we want to take that off the pin. Now if you're manipulating the machine around, the chances are the other end of that spring has a hook, and it's going to come off, and I want you to see where it goes so that when you go to put the spring back on and find the other end may be loose, that you're not panicking like, where the heck do I hook this? So let's see if I can get up here. I'll probably give you a close-up picture of this too. But you see this post, whoops, where's my pointer? Get my finger out of there. This post holds a bracket that swivels back and forth against this paddle. Okay, that's part of the driving arm system. But on the end of that bracket, you see right there is a little hook. See it? And that's where the other end of that spring is hooked onto the other hook. So it's kind of like hook to hook. And that hook is a lot shorter, but if it comes off while you're working on the machine, don't worry. You just hook the what I call the shorter end there. It's got the shorter straight piece and a shorter size hook. You hook it around the hook on that lever. Okay? Then the other end is going to go on this post. Now the reason for this post is it goes through arms of the vibrating bracket, and it goes through arms on the end of the needle bar driving arm, and that post is hard steel, and that's how those two pieces are held together, and they're still allowed to vibrate back and forth. So we want to pull that post out so we can separate the two pieces, right? So there's a set screw up here that holds that post to keep it from slipping out. So we're going to loosen it. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to take it out because when you go to work on this, because there's oil places up here and people oil a lot, and you could have this pin could be stuck inside there real well. So if you got to spray some penetrating oil or whatever you want to use up there, I take out the set screw, okay, and I would spray some of it right in there, because it'll go down inside the space that pin goes in. Once you do that, you're going to have to pull the pin down. You can wiggle it. Again, you can use a penetrating oil. You can also heat the area up with a hair dryer. People have told me about heat guns. I've never used a heat gun, but I guess as long as you don't get hot enough to harm the paint, yeah, use a heat gun. But here's the pin. You see it's pretty grungy. It's got a lot of built up dried oil and stuff. And you can see maybe this groove or slot that's cut in it all the way around that spring hooks into. So of course when we put it back in, we're gonna put that groove at the bottom for the spring and stick it up inside there again. Okay? For right now, I'm just gonna put it in my magnet dish with the other parts. Okay, the next thing is up above this dish, I think Singer called it, the little bar stool. Underneath the vibrating bracket, there is a collar with a set screw, and that's to keep the bracket from slipping off the bottom of that eccentric hinge pin. Okay, so we just go in and we loosen that set screw, and this is another part that can be stuck very well onto the bottom of that hinge pin, eccentric hinge pin. Yeah, because the hinge pin doesn't rotate, the vibrating bracket does, and there's an oil spot right there, you know, to keep this going. So the oil's always going in there and settling down at the bottom and drying up and getting crummy and cruddy. So this, you can use the set screw when it's partially out to twist it back and forth. Put your penetrating oil in there. You can, if it won't budge, take the set screw all the way out and spray some oil right in there to get it right up against the bottom of this hinge pin. But once you get it loose and stuff, now we've got to take it out. Okay, so I've got to push down on this part and the spring inside. Whoop, there we go. Inside the pressure bar and get this collar off. And that's all it is. It's just a steel collar. Goes up on the bottom of that hinge pin, and one side of it is flat, kind of straight and flat. The other side is beveled, I guess. What do you call it? Bullnosed. It's rounded off a little bit. That's the part that goes down, and we'll talk about that when we put it back together. Okay. All right. So we've got this needle bar driving arm pin out, and we've got the collar off. So the idea is now that we've got to get that pin up. So we can try and go underneath here and push it up. It does kind of have a big old screw slot thing going on up there, and it can be stuck in there, but it's usually not too bad. Usually the hard part's getting the collar off, unless the machine's just been sitting for a long time, which is very possible. If you get it so that it's like swinging like that, usually you're going to be able to get this up, and just by going in here and oh wait wait sorry, I had a good laugh there, and I'm glad I caught myself before I totally embarrassed myself. But look, this piece of the aluminum body, they've cut a slice in, and they put a big clamping screw here to pinch those two pieces around the eccentric hinge pin, so that it doesn't turn from the setting that the factory does it. So of course, if you want to move that pin, you've got to loosen this clamping screw. Man. So get yourself a nice big screwdriver. In this case, I'm going to use my little mini ratchet, and make sure I got it in there well. There we go. Okay, and I'm going to loosen that, or take it out if you prefer. I'll take it out to show it to you. And we see some old dried up oil on it and stuff, but not too bad. A nice steel pan head clamping screw. Alright, now we can try and push up that pin, and you've got it marked, right? So if you want to put a big screwdriver up in there and see if you can like turn it, you know, break it free like that. You could put try and get some penetrating oil around the edges, but I found usually it's not too bad. So here's what it looks like. So you can see typically all the dried up blackened oil. You can see the bottom of it where the collar sits, you know, underneath here, right? Okay, now we're going to just because the vibrating bracket contains the upper needle bar bushing, right? And we can't lift all this up enough to get it off the needle bar. So we're going to try and swing it away from the driving arm like that. Okay, and here you can see the end of the driving arm. So I'll do an angle picture here. But once you swing it away, now you can just lift the vibrating bracket right up off of the needle bar. And that is the vibrating bracket. Needle bar vibrating bracket. So you can see these slots where the driving arm is going to go, and you see where the pin goes up, and you see the muck that was sitting on top of that collar and all the crud in there and everything. Okay, and then here is the end piece I was telling you of that needle bar driving arm. Okay, it's all a cast aluminum piece. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is what makes the needle bar vibrate or zigzag back and forth. And that's how you can take it off without taking off the needle bar, without taking the whole pressure bar system, you know, all apart and stuff like that. I'm going to use my crud cutter, and I'll see maybe the ultrasonic cleaner if I need to, and I'm going to clean all those parts and see if I got them here. I got the bracket and the hinge pin and the other pin, collar, screws. What else here? This was the extension pin for the thumb screw. I already cleaned that, so I don't need to clean that, and I don't need to clean this. So I'll just clean the vibrating bracket parts up here, and then we'll come back and put it back together, and I'll show you this minor adjustment you need to make. Well, I did use the ultrasonic cleaner on these, and then I had to do a little bit of brushing with the detail brush, but not much. They sure look different now. So let's just go ahead and reassemble this, and we're pretty much going to do it just in the reverse of how we took it off, right? Now I did put a light coating of oil on these parts, like I do anytime I wash the parts. So I'll just slip the vibrating bracket back onto the needle bar there, like so. And I think what I'll do is try and get that end of the needle bar driving arm kind of lined back up with it. It's not going to be perfect until I put the pin in, but I want to get it in position. Then I'll put this big eccentric pin back in there. Maybe I should have put some oil inside that vibrating bracket there to help me out a little bit. Put some on the pin here. See if I can try that. Oh, there we go. I think I had it a little crooked by holding it here instead of underneath. I'm going to go ahead and put that all the way down. I'm not going to line up the top part yet until, do you remember up on the top here in the beginning we marked the body and the pin? I'm just going to kind of eyeball it and get it pretty close to where it was. Okay, then I think the next thing is going to be this collar, and the flat side is going to face up. Just loosen that screw a little bit. So this is going to be a little tricky because I've got to keep this pushed down and that pushed up while I slip the collar on. Push that pin down in there. I got that screw loose enough. Yeah, it's about to fall out. There we go. Whew. Okay, so you may have remembered I said I'm going to show you a slight adjustment, and really about the only adjustment with this is this collar is made to keep the vibrating bracket on that hinge pin, so I need to push it up and tighten it. And I want to push it up enough that there's not any, oops, did I just knock it off? That there's not any play that there's not any play on the bracket. It doesn't bounce up and down. But I don't want to push it on so hard that it pinches everything and restricts movement, which would also be called binding. So I'm just going to put a thumb on the bracket and a finger up on the pin there and see if I can tighten it by just my fingers, and then I'll get a screwdriver in here and snug it up. Now I may need to realign that later when I double check that my two marks are aligned up here, but I just want to kind of get it back on here for now. Okay, then I've got to get this pin worked back through the needle bar driving arm and the bracket, because that's what holds those two pieces together, and that indentation or cutout for the spring has to go on the bottom. So let's see if I put a little oil on this, may help it slide up in there. Let's see how awkwardly I can do this now. Oh, yeah. Wonder if I held it with a little pair of pliers, because I'm going to kind of need to line these up, I think. Let's see. I've got to get it over this way. Usually if you can get it through the first, there, that's good. So I've got it, when you get it through the bottom of the driving arm and this first flange on the bracket, that kind of lines everything up pretty good there. So then you should be able to just continue sliding that pin back up, and it goes, just keep pushing it till it won't go up anymore. There. Very nice. Then I want to go ahead and put the set screw in here to keep the pin from falling out as it vibrates back and forth, right? So I get the set screw here and a drop of oil. Oh, that went in pretty good. And then I'll give it a good final tightening. Let's see if I can get this, because I'm right-handed, and I think it'll be better for me to... There we go. Okay. Very nice. So, if you remember, I took that spring tail off of the bottom of this. And I showed you earlier in the video about how it may become disconnected from the other end. So I'm going to check that, and I'm going to find the spring and stick it back out through the opening kind of here on the side, so that I can hook it back up around that pin. Well, with all my fiddling of it, the other end came off. This long straight part is what comes out and hooks on the pin. The shorter part hooks on that little lever in the back. So maybe I can stick it through from the front, and you should have this hook should come around from the left to the right around that pin. See if I can kind of get it in position and go up and get the spring here, and it might be easier to hook this end on the lever. Oh, there we go. Okay, so that turned out a little bit easier for me. I just want to make sure that I've got that spring setting firmly in the little cutout for it. That looks real good. So now just a couple more steps here. I'm going to drop this extension pin for the pressure bar back down through here, so it rests on that thing called the dish part, right? And then now I want to align my marks I made on the top of that hinge pin with the scratch mark I made on the front of the body here, because that lines up the eccentric. I think I got it, but I'm just going to double check, because you really want that to be a very close alignment, because then you get the full zigzag motion. Okay, I think I got it perfect. So I'm going to put in this big clamping screw now so that that doesn't move. So we don't want that hinge pin to be twisting around or moving. And if you don't have it clamped tight, it certainly will, because whenever you zigzag sew, of course, the this thing is going to be vibrating like crazy, right? Okay, so let me go up there and tighten that. Yay! Okay, very nice. I got full movement there. Then I'll just put in the adjustment thumb screw that adjusts the pressure, and you'll see it push down that extension pin and compress the spring in here that puts more pressure on the presser foot. I like it. So now you see that you can remove, clean, and replace, adjust if necessary, the vibrating bracket on a Singer Model 403. And the bracket part is the same on the some of the other Slantomatics. It's just the pressure bar system might be different. But basically any zigzag machine has some kind of a vibrating bracket. I have other videos on different models where they're over on this side. But that's the whole principle of what they call the vibrating bracket. Looks good, doesn't it? Okay, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you watching that. I hope it was worth your time. And there's more videos coming. I put a link to the playlist for Regina, the Singer Model 403, in the description below and here at the end of the video and in a moment. And you can see some more of this, or you can go on my channel and see any of the 450 plus videos. Hope to see you next time. Take care.